After studying this module, you shall be able to know about field notes, crime scene sketching and its significance. First, the field notes. The documentation of the case starts as soon as an officer gets a call that a crime has occurred till the moment of case closing. It is a most important as well as time-consuming process. Documentation of a crime scene is done to record and preserve the location and condition of evidence. The respective location of evidences with each other is also recorded. Usually, 4 types of documentation methods are adopted by investigating officers. These are reports and note-taking or field notes, sometimes it's audio, photographs, videography, and crime scene sketching and mapping. Now let us understand the significance of field notes in detail. Field notes are short written record of events, places, times, suspects, witnesses, and other relevant information. This information is used to prepare report. Some elements should be included in all reports, regardless of the offense. The effective and complete notes are important. On arrival at the crime scene, an effort should be made to gain as much as information as possible. The reason behind is the information that seem unnecessary at first may later prove to be highly valuable to the investigator. Field notes must be prepared which shows what actually is demonstrating in photographs. It helps in preventing the investigator from getting the picture back at a later date and trying to figure out what he or she was trying to accomplish with the photo. Now let us discuss the importance of field notes. Detailed notes can make or break a conviction. Reliability. Field notes are more reliable than memory of investigating officer. Later in any stage of investigation, the officer may forget or skip some potential detail. It only takes a short period of time for some important details to slide away from the memory. To prevent the loss of potential information is to depend on field notes prepared by the investigating officer. Primary source of information. Primary information source are field notes for the offense reporter because the first reporting officer is usually the person who writes any incident report which is required by the situation. Representative. Field notes are significant as they present the detail which makes the content of the event report. An investigating officer may need to contact the victims or witnesses of the crime regarding information that was overlooked or questions that were not asked in the initial contact. Once in a while, victims and witnesses get annoyed and even angry when they are recontacted by an officer who obviously did not take good field notes when he or she talked to them earlier and therefore cannot complete the incident report without additional information. Detailed field notes may reduce the need to recontact the parties involved, that is, the victims and the witnesses. Field notes can be used to defend the integrity of the incident or the offense report. Refreshing memory. Finally, it is not uncommon for officers or investigators to testify in court several months or years later regarding a particular investigation. Comprehensive field notes help refresh the investigator's memory as well as strengthen his or her court testimony. The field notes can be used during courtroom testimony to refresh recollection of the events. Field notes are more trustworthy than an individual's memory as it can be used as a source of particular facts and details that else may be forgotten. Investigative notes are a permanent record of the evidences of a case to be used for further investigation or in writing reports. There are numerous other questions which may be asked called primary questions. These include what, when, where, who, how and why, although no single set of questions can meet the needs for investigating all types of crime. There are 6 primary questions which have long been recognized in the field for being useful. While preparing field notes, don't include words such as a, and the. Use standard abbreviations such as MPH, DWI and AVE. Describe everything like location, weather, type of crime, all physical evidences, etc. Make notes in ink in a bound notebook with pages numbered and sequentially. Do not erase errors, cross them with a pen. Make notations in chronological order. Evidence is documented by describing type and condition of evidence, time of discovery, name of discoverer, placement, collection, packaging, and labeling of evidence recovered. Now, we will discuss about crime scene sketch. Preparing a crime scene sketch is the final phase in crime scene documentation. A crime scene sketch is a permanent record of the size and distance relationship of the crime scene and the physical evidence within it. Sketching of crime scene provides spatial relationship between objects, while other methods do not allow the viewer to measure easily the distances and dimensions. The crime scene sketch solves this purpose by elucidating the information contained in the photographs and video documentation. A sketch is the most simplistic manner in which to present crime scene layout and measurements. In crime scene sketching, the position of camera and the photographer may also be noted. Photographs provides a two-dimensional representations of three-dimensional objects which distort the spatial relationships of the photographed objects, causing items to appear closer together or farther apart than they actually are. If spatial relationships of the evidence are important, or if something needs to have proportional measurements included in it for calculations such as bullet trajectory angles, accident reconstructions, etc., then a sketch must be made of the crime scene. Two types of sketches are produced with regards to crime scene documentation. First, rough sketches. Rough sketches are prepared during the crime scene assessment, preliminary crime scene evaluation phase to assist with development of a strategic plan for processing. The sketch is not done to scale, can be drawn with any implement, crayon, chalk, pencil, pen, etc., and is very rough artistically. As work progresses at the crime scene, the sketch will include not only the crude crime scene layout, but also will be used to record measurements of items and structures and distances between the items. Final or finished sketches. A final sketch is a finished rendition of the rough sketch. They are usually prepared for courtroom presentation and often will not show all measurements and distances originally recorded on the rough sketch. Only significant items and structures are typically present within a final sketch. A final sketch is produced in either ink or on a computer in a manner that it is not able to be modified, that is, not in pencil. The sketch should be clutter-free and should accurately depict all pertinent items of evidence, typically through the use of an accompanying legend. A legend is a note of explanation outside of the sketch area, which relates to a specific item, symbol, or information contained within the graphical representation of a sketch. A rough sketch at the scene is usually made first on graph paper in pencil with so many squares representing so many square feet or inches. Using a tape measure or other measuring devices, measurements are taken at crime scene of the distances between objects and structures at the crime scene. These measurements are proportionally reduced on the rough sketch and the objects are drawn in. Two measurements taken at right angles to each other or from two reference points will usually suffice in placing the objects where they belong in a sketch. Double measurements should also be taken to make sure that they are correct. This is especially true where calculations will later be used. A final sketch should be made later using inks, paper and ruler or on a computer. The original rough sketch should be reserved and well kept in case it is required at a later date. The scene should be carefully documented, then the evidence collection can initiate. Crime scene sketch has its own significance. It accurately depicts the physical evidences. It connects to the sequence of events at the scene. It establishes the precise location and relationship of objects and evidence at the scene. It helps to create a mental picture of the scene for those not present at the scene of crime. It is a long-lasting record of the scene of crime. It is acceptable in the court of law. It assists in questioning and cross-examining. It also assists in preparing the written investigative report. It assists in presenting the case in court. Well-prepared sketches and drawings help judges, juries, witnesses and others to visualize the crime scene. Sketch all serious crimes and accident scenes after photographs have been taken and before anything is moved. Sketch the entire scene, the objects and the evidence. A final sketch should include title. What does the sketch represent? For example, sketch of bank ABC robbery. Legend. What do symbols within the sketch mean? Case information, that is date, time, place and case number. Initials or name, person who drew the sketch. Indication of a direction, that is north. Scale, example 1 inch represents 1 centimeter, whatever the scale is. Measurement table, if measurements are not represented within the confines of the sketch, an accompanying measurement table should be included to explain the distances and measurements associated with it. There should be a system succeeding the scale or measurement table asserting all measurements are approximate. This will ensure that the sketch author does not get into a credibility argument in court that a measurement is documented as the listed measurement but could in fact be greater or lesser due to rounding errors or other factors. 3 different crime scene perspectives can be represented within a sketch. Sometimes person chooses to incorporate several perspectives within a sketch. Example, using both elevation and overhead sketches to draw an exploded or cross-sectional view of a scene. First is bird's eye or overhead view. An overhead or bird's eye view is the most common form of crime scene sketching. It is prepared with the perspective being as though the author was looking down upon the scene from the above. This type shows the floor layout but cannot represent heights of items or show associated evidence on walls. Direction of the above view is done through a compass. Second is the elevation or side view. In order to show such information, a person must sketch an elevation or side view sketch to show evidence located on a building or building facade, interior wall or any item of which height is an important aspect. Example, death involving a hanging. The three-dimensional or the third view. A 3D crime scene perspective is created with the aid of computers and has its primary function as being crime scene activity reconstruction to help explain what happened and in what order it happened. Now, we will end this module with the summary. Documentation of crime scene is done to record and preserve the location and condition of evidence. The 4 types of documentation methods are reports and note-taking, photographs, videography, and crime scene sketching and mapping. To prevent the loss of potential information, field notes must be prepared by the investigating officer. The questions like what, when, where, who, how, and why must be asked during interrogation. Describe the location, weather, type of crime, and all physical evidences that are seen at the scene of crime. Evidence is documented by describing type and condition of evidence, time of discovery, name of discoverer, placement, collection, packaging, and labeling of evidence recovered. A crime scene sketch is a permanent record of the size and distance relationship of the crime scene and the physical evidence within it. Sketching of crime scene provides spatial relationship between objects. Rough sketches and final sketches are produced in crime scene documentation. The sketch should be clutter-free. The final sketch should accurately depict all pertinent items of evidence with the help of using a legend. A legend is a note of explanation outside of the sketch area which relates to a specific item, symbol, or information contained within the graphical representation of a sketch. Crime scene sketch accurately portrays the physical facts, relates to the sequence of events at the scene, and establishes the precise location and relationship of objects and evidence at the scene. 3 different crime scene perspectives can be represented within a sketch, such as the bird's eye or overhead view, the elevation or side view, and the 3-dimensional 3D view. An overhead or bird's eye view is the most common form of crime scene sketching. Overhead or bird's eye view is prepared with the perspective being as though the author or the sketcher was looking down upon the scene from above. It shows the floor layout but cannot represent heights of items or show associated evidence on walls. Directionality of the overhead view is determined by using a compass. The elevation or side view is used to show evidence located on a building facade, interior wall, or any item of which height is an important aspect. Example, death involving hanging. A 3D crime scene perspective is created with the aid of computers and has its primary function as being crime scene activity reconstruction to help explain what happened and in what order. All these are the important points in the documentation of crime scene.